Well, what a dramatic day in court yesterday. We heard Jodi Arias testify that she recalls shooting Travis Alexander in self-defense, but when it comes to his stab wounds, all of a sudden she can't remember a thing.
And it was a moment many were waiting to hear, as people from really around the nation have watched this trial very closely. And now we are joined by Julio Laboy. He's a lawyer right here in the Valley who's also been following the case. He joins us live this morning with his take on what happened. Do you think that the jury is buying any of this? The fact that she can't remember, she certainly remembered a whole lot of other stuff.
Absolutely. Well, good morning. That's a great question, whether or not the jury members are buying this. I think the defense is counting on maybe one or two people being emotionally invested to the point that they're buying into what Jodi is saying and that they're going to make some kind of a connection with her.
You know, this thing has been going on so long with her on the stand with her own attorneys, like 8 or 9 days. Is today the 9th, something like that. So the prosecution will get its turn. Do you think they'll be as detailed and take as long?
I think fireworks are looming. Juan Martinez is a very, very experienced prosecutor, and he's very aggressive. He's going to go out, in my view, and just fire away. There are so many inconsistencies for him to work with. Selective memory, the changing of the stories over and over again. And frankly, if you listen to yesterday's testimony, wasn't it just so surprising? Some of the terms that she used, I had blood on my hands. The use of the word confession. He has an insurmountable amount of information to go with and use to not only undermine her credibility, but to drive home the prosecution's point that she's a cold-blooded killer.
It seems like she's been really coached well.
Well, frankly, any trial at this level, you're going to be sitting down with your client, if you're a defense attorney worth your salt, and you're going to be reviewing everything that's going to happen. You're not going to be telling your client what to say, you can't do that, but you're definitely going to be practiced, and I think she's been very well practiced.
Well, the timing on this could play a huge role. I mean, the longer it takes, it seems, in this trial, it may actually play in her favor, because if you think about it, general human nature over time is you forget things.
Well, not only do you forget things, but
And I'm not talking about Jodi Arias, I'm talking about the jurors.
Absolutely. Oh, most of the time in long trials, you'll even catch your juror nodding off. I don't know if that's the case here. This is such a big trial. But at the same time, memories do fade. And what you have here is, what, 6 days or so of Jodi on the stand, crying, sort of having the defense try to forge an emotional investment on the part of jury panels with her. That might resonate with 1 or 2 jurors. That's all you need.
But going back to the forgetting a lot of the details yesterday, I mean, over the past 8 days, I've watched this and I thought, gosh, how does she remember that? I can't remember what I wore last week, let alone 4 years ago.
Right.
And then when it comes to very important and things that you would think would really be huge, she all of a sudden can't remember. I mean, could that happen?
Absolutely, it could. Remember, there's going to be testimony and discussion about post-traumatic syndrome, the effects of a very traumatic event on someone's memory. What I think is difficult for the defense here is that claim is going to be juxtaposed against everything she has remembered. And frankly, I think it's a hard sell, shooting someone in the face and then not remembering that. However, the experts are there to do their job, and we'll have to see how that plays out.
Fascinating stuff. Thank you so much for your
more
time.
than
Yeah,
welcome.
we appreciate your time.
Good to
We'll
be
see
here.
what
Good to be
happens
here.
today.
It'll
Thank
be
you.
interesting for sure.
Yeah.
And of course, you can watch it on azfamily.com or on the 3TV News app, and we will be right back.
What factors influence your having a memory problem?
Usually when men like you are screaming at me or grilling me, or someone like Travis doing the same.
So that affects your memory problems,
It
right?
does. It makes my brain scramble.
Well, fireworks yesterday in the Jodi Arias murder trial when the prosecution finally got a shot to cross-examine her. And while just about every exchange between Arias and lead prosecutor Juan Martinez was tense, how did it all play out as a whole? For the breakdown of yesterday, we are joined by Julio Laboy with Laboy Law Firm. Thank you very much for coming in.
You're welcome.
First, overall, I mean, everybody has waited for Martinez to get a chance to cross-examine her. What's your overall grade for him? How did he do?
Well, I think overall he did well, although there are some minefields that he should be avoiding in my view. One is coming out too aggressively. You risk running at the alienation of someone on the jury, especially when you come out with the question, is this your dumb sister? It doesn't move his argument or the state's position forward at all, and it could risk someone on that jury saying, what is he doing? However, he was aggressive, and he controlled that forum that morning.
I want to ask you, because you bring up a good point, because there seemed to be some, I guess, tense situations where typically there didn't have to be. I want to play this clip and listen in.
He didn't have a car that day, right?
We were switching cars
Ma'am,
back
did
and
he
forth.
have a, my question
He
is,
did have a car.
isn't it true he did not have a car that day?
No, he had a car.
That seemed to be just about everything they discussed. There was an exchange back and forth. How does that play, and how is that strategy?
Well, I think part of it is Juan Martinez saying, look, you've had the floor for a while. You were able to face the jury and control sort of the dynamic of the dialogue. I'm here now. I'm directing this show. I think, again, the risk is in doing it too much, being too confrontational when it doesn't move your position forward.
How do you handle a witness such as her? Because she seemed to be enjoying the gamesmanship of this whole thing.
Wasn't that something? That was talk about courtroom drama. She did seem to be enjoying it, and if you notice, there was even a runaway smirk from time to time. Juan is doing it right. He's still pressing forward. I think he has a game plan. He's sticking to it. But he's a seasoned prosecutor. He's done this a long time, and I believe that he's going to continue to stick with his game plan. And when he trips her up, everybody's going to know it.
He did change a little bit his strategy, because when he first came out, I mean, he had been caged for 9 days and listening to all this testimony. When they came back from lunch, he seemed to tone it down a little bit.
Yeah, he was an adrenalized pit bull in the morning. I think he realized that that pacing had to change. You can't be that electric all the time. While he can do it and has that perseverance, the jury may not be able to stay there with him the whole time. And to underscore being impactful, sometimes you need to maybe lower your tone to make the point. Peaks and valleys are needed by jury members, and I think he may have realized that.
I think one thing that kind of confused everybody yesterday was at points he seemed to be bringing up stuff that really didn't matter, but that's all really to chip away at her credibility.
It could be, although I also agree that it was somewhat meandering, a little disconnected, disjointed. Now, mind you, it was day one. He might weave all these things together on Monday, but now the jury might be also saying, well, what was that all about? He went from weird segue to weird segue, talking about, for example, what happened with the magazine, and then switching over to a pretrial hearing. And it seemed to me, anyway, to lose cohesion. But he might bring it all back together.
Really quickly, as a former prosecutor, where do you go from here?
In terms of the
If you were prosecuting this case?
you know, keep on with his theme of she's a liar, she's a liar. Also, you might want to say, look, I'm also like Travis. Well, do you want to get at me too?
Yeah.
I mean, let that jury panel know, in your view, she is a cold-blooded killer.
All right, well, we'll continue to follow this closely. We thank you very much for your insight.
Thank you very much.
And April, coming up in the next hour, we're actually going to talk to a body language expert, because a lot of people wondering, okay, she was one thing one day, and she seemed to completely change her identity yesterday.
Well, that's what just has me kind of glued to this trial, is just watching her. I mean, her reaction to everything, and that'll be interesting to hear for sure from a body language expert. All right.
Information available. We will bring it to you here on Good Morning Arizona.
And according to you, he is on you when you shoot him, right?
Not quite on me. I think the gun went off and then he impacted me right shortly after that.
And he's still not dead, right?
Definitely not. He's very angry. I heard him say, kill you.
Well, some obvious fireworks there from the stand in Phoenix yesterday. Jodi Arias breaking down as she describes killing her ex-boyfriend in great detail.
And the most dramatic day yet in the Jodi Arias murder trial. For the first time, we actually see Arias break down on the stand. And then later, the prosecutor makes her stand up and show the court how she says Alexander attacked her the day she killed him. We have Julio Laboy joining us. He's a Valley lawyer who's been following the case and giving us the breakdown on what is happening in court with her breaking down. No doubt, as we've been talking about, psychological issues, but a lot of people are questioning, is this part of an act? Is she that good?
Well, I don't know if she's that good, but certainly it's going to be up to the defense to show that this breakdown is in line with their story and their theme. There are folks who might suggest that this is panic. There are folks who are suggesting that it's really a result and a manifestation of her being caught, cornered by Juan Martinez in a very direct and very effective cross-examination.
What did you think, though, when they had her get up? She kept trying to use her words yesterday. And then he said, I don't want to hear your words, I want to see your gesture. It's clear that he's trying to make sure that she outlines something that doesn't necessarily coincide with the evidence.
True. However, I thought giving her the opportunity to demonstrate before the jury might actually work against the prosecution. It imprints into the jury's mind the way Jody wants this to be visualized.
The way it could have happened as
Correct.
she says it happened. And I feel like we've also seen a slight change in Juan Martinez's, in how he's prosecuting. We saw him very angry, very aggressive. Earlier in the week, he seemed to take back a little calmer. How's that playing a role in what the jury is seeing?
Well, what I think the jury is seeing in the end is a prosecutor who believes 100% in this case. Even if at one point you thought he was meandering or taking too long, there is no question in that jury's mind that he's passionate about this case, as he should be. He has the relatives of a victim who is dead behind him, and he is the person, the singular person in that courtroom representing Travis Alexander.
Yesterday, when she started to cry on the stand and he kept going after her over and over and over again, do you think that helped or hindered the prosecution?
I think it helped, and I think it was well planned. I think he knew or anticipated that Jody might do this breakdown, whether it was staged, whether it was planned on her part, and he anticipated that and said, okay, if you want to start crying at that point to try to sort of gain any sympathy, I'm going to come back at you and ask you if you cried when you stabbed him, when you shot him.
We're on break today, no court. It resumes Monday. Are we any closer for this to wrap up? We finally get to the day that everyone's been waiting for. What exactly happened, when we get to that day of Travis Alexander being killed? Are we any closer? How much longer do you think this is going to take?
Well, it's going to take quite some time, and we still have redirect. Who knows how long that'll go? There's a lot of repair work and a lot of sort of explanation, I think, that the defense has to take into account. And then we still need to hear from experts, so this is going to take a while.
And it should be interesting to hear the expert witnesses they decide to
Absolutely.
call to the stand.
Absolutely.
All right, we appreciate your time this morning helping to make sense of
You're
all
welcome.
this. It has been a juicy trial to follow. It has been so sad to see the family members get up and walk out of court. Can't even imagine what that's like. But boy, this is definitely an attention-getting case from the nation.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
Julio, thank you so much. And
You're
of
welcome.
course, we'll continue covering the case again on Monday, and you can watch it as we stream it live on azfamily.com.
Are you all fired up for